Moon. That spells grooming. Welcome back, all you Fabricans and Fleshbags, to the Super Not Funny Show reviews. And today we're going to be talking about episode 3 of The Stand, called Blank Page, streaming on CBS All Access or any other streaming service around the world. I don't know. Check your services. Well, let's dig into it and see what it was all about. By the way, slight spoiler alert. I'm not going to tell the whole episode, but important scenes may be played out. So be my guest and go watch the episode before you come back and check this review out. Cool? We cool? All right, let's do it. So this episode is mainly about 3 characters. Even though you get some of the other characters you've seen before, most prominently we see Glenn Bateman, played by Greg Kinnear, and we see Nadine Cross, played by Amber Heard, and we see Nick Andros, played by Henry Zaga. They are the main characters, but we also see a little bit more Fran, we see some Harold, we see some Stu. In fact, this episode does what I've been wanting, which is showcasing more of the leaders of the 2 opposing camps that are going to be knocking heads later. Primarily, we saw some of Flag last time. We see more of him this time, and we actually get to see Mother Abigail outside of a dream. Surprising, she actually is real. So, beyond that, we see more of Boulder. We see more of the time before everyone died. We just get a little bit of character work. That is what I would call this episode, is about laying foundation. It's not a big and flashy episode, but it's a necessary episode because we learn more about our characters and we are introduced to more central characters. And as this show is kind of telling 3 story timelines at the same time, we get to see all of those advance a little bit. This episode's really about moving the ball down the field, if you will. So, the main characters. We go with Glenn Bateman, who is a college professor with a dog. Apparently a college professor. He has a dog, and he likes to paint. And he's just an all-around nice dude. And we see he and Stu kind of meet up. Now, earlier, of course, we see Stu try to make friends with Fran and Harold and get brushed off because, hey, it's the New World Order. No one's necessarily trusting everybody. But Stu and Glenn hit it off, and they kind of hang out together. And that's the point at which we sort of start to see what we, the audience, already know, but the characters don't really, is that everyone's having similar dreams and that there's some supernatural shenanigans possibly going on. We move on from Glenn. As we see later on, he ends up being one of the ruling or governing council of the Boulder Free Zone, and we see the sort of how he interacts with other members of the council. We also see more of Nick Andros. Nick Andros is a character we saw in the previous episode with an eye patch, but said very little. In fact, he said nothing. So we get to see who is he and where did he come from. And Nick, of course, is a mute, deaf man. And he had an eye, but he unfortunately lost in a bar fight. But that's not as important as the fact that he wakes up in a hospital I'm assuming the night before, had been brought in severely beaten, and he wakes up and he's in a hospital in a small town with a lot of dead people in it. That's not even the most remarkable thing. What's remarkable to me is that here's a deaf and mute guy who isn't too bothered by being in a ward full of dead people. I mean, it can't be too many dead people because it's a small town, but still. But I really like this part because you kind of get to see the sort of person that Nick is, and that the guy that jacked his eye up is dying in a bed, and he comforts him, while he's dying, just because that's the sort of person that Nick is. And perhaps that is why Nick gets 2 job offers, in his dreams at least. He gets 2 job offers, one from Flag and one from Mother Abigail. And it kind of shows the sort of person he is, that he can look to Flag and reject the fixing of his sight and the fixing of his vocal cords in his ears, just because he recognizes evil. And at the same time, he's offered the exact same position as the representative of Mother Abigail, and he takes her up on it. We also, thanks to Nick, we also get introduced to Tom Cullen, who I'm certain, and they better focus on Tom at some point in a future episode. Tom Cullen, first of all, I got to find out who the guy is that's playing Tom Cullen, because he's great. Tom Cullen is immediately likable. And I would also argue that because this is an updated version of this story, the portrayal of Tom, who is a special needs person, is probably a little more sensitive than Stephen King wrote originally in his book and was portrayed in the 94 miniseries. It's actually very strong. I liked Tom from the beginning, which I think is a point. You're supposed to like him from the beginning. So that was a pretty great highlight of the episode. Additionally, we see more character work with Nadine Cross, who we saw a small glimpse of in the previous episode, but now we get to see her more fully. And, well, let's just say the little special marker stone that Flag hands out to all his people, let's just say she's kind of had hers for a while. I don't know if this was meant to make Flag more evil than he already is. I mean, dude's pretty clearly a bad guy. I mean, he did intentionally start the whole fucking pandemic, so I'm not sure how much more evil he can be made to be. But hey, they threw in for extra measure on top of it. It's like, throwing that last ounce on top of a ton. But or you could probably say half a ton. I don't know. It depends on what you're thinking about. But apparently, when Nadine was 12 or 13, he picked her out and said, "You're going to be my queen." And I would say in this day and age, some would qualify that as grooming or something to that effect. It was very strange, and I don't recall that from the book. And I could be wrong. It's been a long time since I read the book, but it was very interesting that he literally reached out to her with his magic through this little stupid planchette, ghost thing that doesn't really fucking work, and literally said, "You're going to be my queen," and scrubbed it into a fucking wood floor with a pencil. It's craziness, but a very interesting and arresting scene, and also, I guess, foreshadowing what's going to go on. What you do see, what it appears to be, is that Nadine knows how to talk to him, I guess, and goes on to see what he wants and get her marching orders. And it leaves a name for her that's going to mean something later on down the line. It was, at this point, they're not even pulling punches. They're not pretending like things aren't going down the way they're going to go down. We can already see the way some of the characters are going to turn. That said, that wasn't the only thing going on in this episode. There was the guy from out west who shows up in a Ferrari and half dead with crucifixion marks through his wrists, and a story to tell about how awful it is to live in Flag's kingdom. Oh, like I said, I don't know that we kind of guessed that he was evil, but apparently they want to have slaves out that way. I mean, why not? I guess that's the way people just are. They bring in slaves, and people are crucified if they aren't in line with everything. It's, I mean, like I said, more. Can you make Flag more evil? I guess let's. Maybe he's, I don't know, euthanizing handicapped people, or I don't know. This, where else can he go with this? But the point is, he makes it all the way to Boulder because Flag wants him to. Because Flag wants to tell everyone that he has got Boulder and Mother Abigail in his sights. Not like Abigail doesn't know that, but still, it was that whole scene of sending the message was not just disturbing, but also, in my mind, it was a very arresting, a very, very kind. What did I say? Just a little scary. I think if I were in that situation, super scary. These are people who have gone through a whole lot and have started to accept that maybe some supernatural shit's going on, and then they literally see a possessed man talking in another man's voice and telling them he's going to come destroy everything. I mean, even the most hardcore, that's some bullshit, magic isn't real people, has to at least consider that it might be some real stuff. We also get to see Flag sort of flex his muscles as with regards to that possession. We see how he can reach out to people. Right now, it mostly seems illusions, but it's clear that he can do more. He can do much, much more than what we've seen so far. We also see the way he sort of tells people what they want to hear, wants people to bend the knee. He wants to be worshipped. He wants to be like a god. And that ultimately is a stupid, stupid, stupid desire. I don't understand why a man would want other people to worship him like a god. It's just going to make some of the people be like, fuck off. So it's very strange, but megalomaniacs, am I right? Anywho, so this episode, overall, I really, really liked it, actually. This was not a flashy episode. We saw some Captain Trips, but, we saw a lot of that in the previous two episodes. Did we need some more of it? Not really. The time we did see it was just kind of as background dressing, and also to kind of highlight an aspect of Nick's character. We saw a lot of foundation building. I consider this some people might say a filler episode, but I don't call it a filler episode. This is, if you were playing football, this is a solid, 7-yard run down the field, or to get a first, or, a 3 or 4 yard run to get a first down. It's moving the chains down the field, moving the story along, building character moments, helping you understand who people are, and kind of setting up things for future activities, future action. This is a foundational episode. It's a slow down episode from all the, chaos and fun of the previous two episodes to kind of ground everything and put everything on the right path towards the next part of the story. By the book, because they're telling things out of order, if we were in the book, we would technically be at the halfway point with the Boulder section, and then the other parts would be before that. So we're reaching the part where some major action's about to happen. And we know that because Flag has put Nadine up to, well, let's just say causing a lot of trouble. We also see, I'm wondering myself, this is just my personal question, why does Joe have such a problem with Harold Lauder? I don't know yet. We haven't quite figured that out yet. I suspect something, but I don't know for sure. there is a question, I think, about is there what's the commonality between everyone who survived? I've been thinking about that a lot. Why did everyone survive? What was the point? How come? Well, as Fran asked, could immunity be passed down to the children that they bear? And that's a good question. We don't even know if this thing is genetic. At this point, can we rule out magic? Probably not. There's actual magic going on here. So, overall, good episode. Good, moving everything's forward. Kind of slowed down the pace a little, but great character development. Great, a few actions or fantastical scenes that were really quite well done, but nothing flashy, nothing fancy. They're saving that for later episodes. This is a good, solid episode to really kind of establish character, establish plot, and to kind of set up some things coming down the line. So I really liked it, and I would love to know what you guys thought about it. Why don't you hit me up in the comments and tell me if you agree, disagree, or you just want to say something that maybe I missed. I don't know. I will say, looking forward to episode 4. So far, this show has been quite satisfying to me. Even though it took me a minute to get used to the storytelling. Now that I am used to storytelling, it's pretty cool. It's just a very nice looking series. And if you haven't been watching it, you should check it out. That is The Stand from CBS All Access. This has been the review of the 3rd episode. All right, Fabricans and Fleshbags. That's all for now. I'll catch you on the other side of the fabric. Peace.